It's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvelous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello, welcome back to Generation Skywalker. I'm Stuart. I'm flying solo tonight, but I'm not. I've got a fantastic interview coming up with Jon Aves. If you don't know who Jon is, he's a massive Palitoy vintage toy collector. He's got an incredible collection, incredible stories. Not only that, we talk about his trip to Tunisia to see the sights. We talk about autograph hunting. We talk about celebrations. We talk Star Wars, and we talk Star Wars for a good hour. So let's go straight over to that interview now. Right, now I'm delighted to welcome Jon Aves to Generation Skywalker. Jon, welcome to Generation Skywalker. First time on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on. And let me just say, I love listening to the intro.
Yeah.
Other podcasts, I tend to sort of fast forward that bit, but I tend to always I don't get tired of listening to it, how many times I hear it. It just actually gives me goosebumps. I love it. It's such a great intro that you guys done.
We've had that off a few people, actually.
It's so good. It really is. Yeah, so well done on that.
Yeah, the piece of music, I mean, that's down to a chap called Samuel Kim, who remixes some of those tunes, and reached out to him when we were putting it together, and he was like, yep, buy me a coffee, use it. It's like,
oh, super.
He's very worth checking out on YouTube because he mixes so much music. Some of it's beautiful.
Okay. Oh, awesome.
Definitely check him out. Now, Jon, we're going to delve into Star Wars. We're going to delve into your collecting. You're a huge vintage collector. Anyone that does know you're a huge Palitoy fan. There's so much we can talk about. I want to start off with a trip you took in 2010. I mean, this is one trip I would love to do. Yeah. You did the trip to Tunisia to see the Star Wars sites, didn't you?
Well, it was a holiday. We every year at that period of time, we went away with my other half, Wendy's mum and husband, because basically we used to go with them because it helped them out to go on holiday because they're both disabled. We go with them and it just makes it a lot easier for them. But we genuinely enjoyed their company. We used to have a great couple of weeks wherever we went. Spain. This one was obviously Tunisia.
Had you booked Tunisia just to go to Tunisia, or was Star Wars in your head when booking that?
So it was a trip to Tunisia, and I didn't know at the time, but we went around my birthday, and Wendy, she booked that excursion for my birthday, and I didn't know about it until I got there. So it was a lovely surprise. Yeah.
Now that is a surprise, isn't it? I mean, you must have been staying quite close, but are the places close by, or is it a bit of a hike to get to?
it's a bit of a way because we stayed in a place called Hammamet, if memory serves, and that part of Tunisia, it's all full of the nice hotels, like where the tourists stay. And I mean, that's all well and good, staying in a nice hotel. You got a bit of a private beach and so on, and you get all the food you want and everything. But that's not really Tunisia. To see Tunisia, you have to go out and see it, and that's what that trip involved doing. It was a 700-mile trip, and we ended up right near Lebanon. Yeah, you see the real Tunisia when you do that. So that in itself, without seeing the Star Wars sets, I mean, that in itself was quite amazing to do, quite an adventure.
So it was a 700-mile trip from where you were staying?
Yeah.
Wow.
From
Each
where we were
way,
staying,
or was that round trip?
I think a round trip. I think it was round, yeah. So a big loop, if you like, there and back was 700 miles, I believe. We did it over 2 days. And it was like there was only about, I think, eight of us, and we had a guide as well.
Right.
And we was in like a little minibus, and yeah, we went on our way.
Hot times, I should imagine.
Well, it was, but it was October time we went, so it wasn't over the top, to be honest. It was okay. I mean, I don't like it too hot. You know, for me, a nice. Ideally, like a nice 25 degrees I'm happy with that, bit of a breeze. So yeah, I think it was probably like late 20s and that kind of temperature. You know?
Right. Okay. So
yeah.
So did you know before you got on that bus that you were going where you were going?
Yeah. So when you told me about it, I knew what it was. It was a tour of the film sets basically, and that included Star Wars. The Gladiator should I say, and the English Patient. There was locations that we visited for that film as well.
Oh right, so
yeah,
what an interesting
so it was a mixture. Yes, our first stop was actually in a place called El Gem, which is where the Colosseum is, where they filmed Gladiator.
Oh,
I mean
wow.
that was unbelievable because
that alone, yeah.
That alone, honestly, it's ridiculous because it cost us virtually nothing to get in there. I think the equivalent of like 50p at the time, which is a joke. Yeah, honestly, it's an absolute joke. And that Colosseum is in better condition than the one in Rome, but it's a little bit smaller. The battle floor is still intact and so on. And yeah, just seeing that alone was incredible. There's actually, I would love to send you the pictures of the episode 1 film set in the middle of the desert.
I was going to ask you that because obviously 2010 they had returned there in 97, 98 to film The Phantom Menace. I mean,
yeah. Was
that new sets built or was it?
Yeah, they were new sets. They were the Lars homestead was somewhere else. And this episode 1 film, I mean, I couldn't believe how much of it was still intact. So, I mean, getting there was an adventure because we ended up getting on these like jeeps and we just drove across the sand dunes. I mean, like 45-degree angles going up and down these sand dunes. That was incredible in itself. And we finally got there. And it was like out in the middle of nowhere, and we just was on this old film set, which was still there. And again, no charge to get in. I mean, I would have paid whatever it cost to get on there, and I just felt that these guys weren't making the most of the situation, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I always find it incredible. I've spoken to people that have visited Tunisia before, and they say that it's in the middle of nowhere. That even when they were filming there, they chose such remote areas away from where they would be, you know, basically putting up the cast and crew each night.
Yeah,
just to shuttle them in.
Yeah. No, it was like we stopped at a certain place, and then we got into these jeeps, and it was like going off on another adventure to get to the film set from where the coach stopped. You know, to explain it that way, it really was. It was something to experience, you know. And I remember we was in the middle of going to the film set, and we stopped briefly just to get out and have a look at the wonderful scenery and what we could see. And when we got back to the jeeps, we looked in, and there was like this moving mass of black stuff all over it, and it was like a load of flies, and they didn't disperse until the jeep started moving again. All these flies just flew out of these jeeps, like something out of the Amityville horror. You know, it was crazy. So so good memories, you know.
Yeah, do you know what? Whenever I speak to anybody on this, it does make me start to crave going there to visit it myself. And it's
Yeah.
Did they
Yeah, I mean,
return out there for Kenobi, or was that all done with? I mean,
Do you know? I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know. I know that Tunisia was one of the most accommodating, easiest places to film. You know, like for Indiana Jones, instead of filming in Egypt, they filmed in Tunisia, didn't they? Because there were too many, I think, like restrictions and problems that they were sort of faced to actually film in Egypt. But I don't know if they returned to Tunisia for Kenobi. I'm not sure about that one.
No, I have to check that out. Just wonder whether they knocked it up on where they can do so much now, can't they?
Yeah.
I can remember talking to Andy Goulding, and he had gone out to Tunisia and he had brought back, I'm sure you've seen them for sale or farthest from on that, he brought back a chunk of crate dragon which he broke up and sold off.
Yes.
And I can remember him saying that a lot of the locals didn't really get it, and they used to go and take bits off the homestead and were smoking it, whatever was used, kind of thing. So it was like a story that it got. Are the sets in pretty good nick, especially the homestead and stuff, which is a lot older? Are they? Do the locals respect what it is and understand what it is?
I guess so, because the last homestead was in pretty good shape. I mean, you can probably tell from the pictures I sent you. I mean, it's like some of the big props are sort of, if anything, they're just a bit more sun yellowed now than when you originally saw them. They're a bit more whiter in the film, you know. But apart from that, they're in pretty good shape, you know. But the locals, they didn't really make a big deal out of anything, because I remember sort of just outside, I think it was the last homestead, there was like these key rings and things for sale, and they were just like key rings of little mini scorpions and things. And I was thinking, God, you guys should be doing some Star Wars stuff, you know, because and charging an entrance fee to get in, because you'd make a fortune. There was none of that going on at all.
I can, you know, these kind of African countries like Tunisia. I mean, I've been to other ones and stuff, and you tend to get these markets. I was expecting it to be like kind of market area, loads of bootleg stalls, clothing and toys, or everything, just kind of rammed and really living up to the hype.
Well, because we went to the market before we went on our trip, and I mean, it was full of fake designer stuff.
Like you do.
All of it, loads of it, and you know, it was a very busy hustle and bustle market there, wasn't it? It was. Just Wendy's come in, the real Wendy Williams or something. She's sitting next to me. Do you remember that, honey? It was that market, all the fake goods I had, loads of it. So I don't know why they sort of missed a trick on the Star Wars stuff. They didn't seem to bother. I mean, as I say, you know, not charging an entrance fee. I mean, you know, I went to the last homestead. I had lunch at the last homestead. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah,
ridiculous. I'm sitting there like where Luke and old Uncle Owen and Aunt Bruce sat. I didn't have any blue milk, I might add.
I can make some of the locals.
You know. So,
I mean, some of the photos you sent, there's things on like strapped to the wall, which I mean, some of the images are great, but really random as well.
Yeah, I know. Those the little props are still there. I remember there was like a little. I think it was like an entrance to the place, like a little, I don't know, mini, like a mini hotel sort of entrance, you know, little bar there, and pictures of jowls and so on, you know.
And like a beach towel as well, which Vader on. Is that just a towel strapped to the wall?
Somewhere I can't remember, but it's something like that. It's random stuff. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you, John. When you went to the homestead for the first time, as a massive Star Wars fan, what is that emotion you get when you first enter?
It's all surreal. Like, you can't believe you're sort of actually there where they filmed, you know, a great movie. It's just quite overwhelming, really, to see it all in front of you.
Because I can remember when Jez did one of his running Stormtroopers, and we went off to Pinewood.
Yeah.
Me and Grant were taken off on a little tour while he was doing the run, and we were taken round to where the Falcon was. I think they were filming Solo at the time.
Wow.
But to see a full-size Falcon in front of you, I mean, Grant was nearly in tears. To go to the homestead where they've, you know, Luke and all that, I mean, there's just another level. It's just...
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're overcome with a bit of emotion. I must admit, you know, it's incredible to experience it. You know, it really is.
What I would say is I think Wendy might be getting a lot of proposals from Star Wars fans after this goes live, because if that's the kind of birthday present she's getting people, I mean,
Well,
I mean, yeah,
honestly, I'm very fortunate. You know, she's very supportive of my hobby and my interests. You know, and she, to be honest, she quite likes it herself. You know, she comes to the events with me a lot, and yeah, I really can't complain. You know,
she's a Star Wars fan. Then she enjoys Star Wars.
Yeah, she enjoys it. You know,
That's a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You know,
yeah.
So I got the ongoing joke. You know, she's a real expert, not me.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Facebook.
You call it that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it does look amazing. Loving the photos and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the
very
only
jealous.
downside is I do recommend anyone to go. It's just I mean, I must admit on that trip, at some parts of the trip, you did feel a little bit out of your comfort zone. When we got stopped by the police a couple of times, and yeah, I don't know what setup that was, but the guide, I don't know if you paid them some money or something, because you sort of felt like a bit of a sitting duck at some point. You're sort of out in the middle of nowhere, you know, in the real Tunisia, and I mean, there's only a very small amount of us, and I mean, it was okay. Everything was fine in the end. But then afterwards, you know, you heard about that shooting on the private beach out there a few years later. I can't remember, it's a couple of years later.
Yeah.
So that was awful, you know, for the industry, for the tourists and so on, because that would have hurt them. And yeah,
it even got occupied at one point, didn't it, by terrorist groups?
Yeah.
Or those were the rumours.
Yeah. That's
anyhow, but
yeah, so it's not good, is it? You know, when you hear about things like that, and I don't know what the state is now. I don't even know if they still do that tour, or I have no idea. I'd like to think so, you know, because it's such a great trip to do. It really is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if you ever can go, if you ever get the chance and it's okay, I highly recommend anybody who's a Star Wars fan to do it, you know.
So I've actually just Googled it while we're talking, and there is a site now, starwars.tours,
Okay.
Which private land speeder tours of Tatooine. That's how its tagline.
Okay.
It's got COVID-19 rules, but you can actually do 5,
excellent.
8 or 13 days around there, where they take you to different things, including things like it's got on here again, things like the Colosseum and other parts of south of Tunisia. But yeah, it does look like it is open for business again. So
that's great, isn't it? I mean, that's great. So that's great for them, great for us. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Do it. Yeah, you've got to do it, man.
Yeah,
do it. If you get the chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So let's. Very jealous, John. So I'm not going to keep going on about it. Recently, last couple of weeks, Celebration is coming back to London. 2016 was the last one. 2023, we've got it on our doorstep. I'm pretty sure you're going to be there.
I will, and it falls on Easter weekend, doesn't it? So with my job, the only day that I'd have to get off would be the Saturday. So I'll definitely be up for buying a 4-day pass. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it to be back on the doorstep.
Yeah.
I mean, you said earlier to me offline, you've done all 3 London shows. Well, this will be the third one, obviously.
Yes, this will be the third one. Yes. Yes, I did the 2007, 2016, and so I tell you, there's a big difference between the two of those. But a lot of time difference as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 2016 was 3 days, but I want to return to 2016 because something else you shared with me, and that is this: you have got Empire Strikes Back quad poster, UK poster. It's such a beautiful. I think it's one of my favourite of all the posters. So fantastic choice to start with, which you have been getting signed. Now I'm aware in 2016 you spent the majority of that event trying to get signatures on this.
Yeah. I actually purchased the poster earlier that year because I never owned a period poster, and I thought I had a load of reissues and so on that just looked good on the wall, and I thought I wouldn't mind an actual period one. And that Empire image is my favourite of all the Empire posters, with Vader just standing there with his saber and so on. So I wanted that one, and I found a pretty decent example of one. And then this event was coming, and I realised there was going to be quite a few people there. I thought, well, it'll be a good idea to get it signed up. And I've sort of made that decision. Well, I'm going to prioritise getting the poster signed over everything else. And it ate up a lot of time, unfortunately. So I missed out on a few things I would have liked to have done. But
well, you say unfortunately. You say unfortunately, John.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the signatures that I can work out from here, and I can see that you've got Jeremy Bulloch on there. I can see David Prowse is on there. Carrie Fisher's on there. Alan Harris is on there. Kenny Baker, I can see. They're just ones that are standing out to me. Yeah. And Peter Mayhew. None of these people are no longer here.
I know. I mean,
so if you hadn't done that at that opportunity,
I'd never.
You probably never would have got that chance to meet them and stuff.
No. So in hindsight, I'm really glad I did it, because sadly, people are no longer with us. I mean, it's funny because I think it was either a week after the event, there was an event in London, and I managed to get Dave Prowse and Gary Kurtz at that event, considerably cheaper, I might add, than if they had been at Celebration, because I'm sure you're aware, Dave was banned from going to these major Star Wars shows. I'm glad I managed to get those guys as well. I mean, I got Mark Hamill as well. He was at Celebration. Yeah, it was really well worth it. Anthony Daniels. I mean, I heard a rumor that Anthony Daniels could be a bit funny sometimes, and he didn't like to sign next to Kenny Baker. I don't know how true that is, but he seemed quite happy. The only thing he did, I remember him saying to me, I should do it in blue, really, and I was like, well, that's nice, but because they're all the others are in silver, I sort of wanted to keep it uniform, so I got everything in silver. Yeah.
That's Anthony Daniels for you, I think.
Yeah.
I was assumed he would have wanted to sign in gold, being 3PO.
Well, that's what I would have thought. Yeah, I would have thought gold. Beautiful signature though. He's got really lovely.
He has got a beautiful signature.
Very nice. Yeah, and Gary Kurtz, another one, really lovely signature. But
Anthony Daniels saying that. I mean, blue. I mean, the poster's predominantly blue. It kind of would have sunk in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think blue would have worked. I think what you said, gold would have worked well. I do have a dream of, because I'm still missing a few, and I mean, to be honest, the ones I'm missing, chances are I'll never get them. But if I ever got Lucas to sign it, or maybe I'd get him to sign it in gold.
Yeah, that's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who would you like to add? Who would you like to add to it that's missing?
Well, I'd like to add George Lucas, Frank Oz, James Earl Jones, and John Williams would be
John Williams,
the one. Yes, John Williams, because without the music, the score, Star Wars is not the same thing. It really isn't. So yes, if I could add those, that would be unbelievable. But I think that's a pipe dream, to be honest. You never know.
How often do you actually add to it?
I think the last signature I added was what's his name? He was in Cheers. Sorry, he was in Cheers. He was a voice in Toy Story, and what's his name? I can't remember his bloody name now. One of the last signatures I got, I went all the way to the NEC to get it. I'm trying to remember. He didn't he play like the male guy in Cheers?
I never watched Cheers.
Is it Ratzenberger? John.
Oh, John Ratzenberger.
Yeah. That's it. I got him. He might have been one of the last ones I got. There was a couple of decent ones at Echo a couple of years ago. I think Michael Culver I got from there. And another. Yeah, Billy D. Williams I got when I went to Manchester. Yeah, because Billy D. wasn't at Celebration. So I went all the way to this show in Manchester to get him done.
How did you find Billy D?
Well, I've actually think he's a lovely guy. I mean, I've met him a couple of times. I first met him in 2005 in Collectomania. It was done in the big shopping centre up in I can't remember where it was now. It was a Jason Joyner event. I mean that Carrie Fisher was there as well, and she turned up really late. To be honest, she she looked a lot worse for wear. I don't think she was very good at the time. Yeah, she looked absolutely shattered. And
I only
she
asked
went
that
there.
because I met Billy D in a celebration in 2019 out in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that day, I mean, that if you ever need to add autographs, hopefully Celebration moving forward always does the same thing, because out there you decided who you're having before you went, and you've got an hour slot to go, and sometimes you're only at the desk for 5-10 minutes, and it was really smooth. But I met eight people out there, and he was by far the least friendliest and kind of least welcoming out of the 8, I think. But I'm sure these people have bad days and whatnot, but he wasn't the cheapest that I was going to visit that day.
No,
and just
it's very interesting you say that, actually, because as you said, they're only human. They can be having a bad day. I mean, both times, 2005 he was really pleasant, and I met him again before I got the signature in 2016, and I think both times were in Milton Keynes. And the second time I met him, it was really there was hardly anybody about, and there was a real issue with the heating. He was sitting there with a big blanket around him and drinking a coffee and that, and there wasn't many people about because I don't think the show had started. Yeah, something happened, didn't it? Yeah. And and he was really pleasant. He was okay,
it's funny, isn't it? He didn't even look up when I was in South Chicago. It was kind of like you were just on a conveyor belt to go through.
It's not a nice experience. It's nice when they just give you something, something to make it a bit, personal, and like they're pleased to see you.
Well, yeah, because it could leave a bad taste, a bad opinion of him, and I'm sure he's not like that. But that was my one experience of it.
Yeah, I mean, they have a responsibility to the fans, really. I know it's hard sometimes, but you could ruin somebody's day like a guitar. It's terrible. It's one of those things. I mean, I actually found Carrie Fisher quite cold. I mean, she was a nightmare because she was having unbelievable amounts of I think comfort break, she was calling it. And I heard that she was in the back room just spaced out on the sofa or something. I remember her. She always had a can of Coke that she was drinking at that celebration. I remember that. And she had like 2 tables. It was usually just the one table. She had another table in front, so there was more of a distance between you and her. And I didn't get much from her at all. She just signed it, and that was it, pretty much.
See, that's really funny as well. I met her in Fax in Belgium, a Belgium event.
Yeah.
And I queued up all day, and she kept taking breaks there as well. She was gone every 20 minutes, I think, for cigarette breaks. Yeah. But when I met her, she was captivating. She was lovely. I told her that she was my first true love, and all this. And she had a conversation with me. She wrote that on my photo, your first true love, and all this kind of stuff. And she was brilliant. And
that's really good.
I think it's just experiences on that day. I mean, everyone has them. It's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is, isn't it? It's like, well, you got, I don't know, so lucky that it was great that she was more sort of up for it with yourself, So
yeah.
I guess I was just unlucky.
Sadly, I put that photo into a book to keep it flat at home while I was getting a thingy, and I think my wife donated the book to a charity shop, and it's the one autograph. I've got a photo of it, which I put on the forum back in the day, but I've never found that book, so I'm guessing it's gone to a charity shop. So all my other ones I've got, but Carrie Fisher's the one that I would have wanted the most.
That's going to be a story for someone in the future. I found this book in a charity shop. And,
you open it, it's got like to Stuart from your first true love, Carrie Fisher and whatnot on it. You're kind of like, so yeah, I've got a photo of it, but not the
actual
the original thing.
Man. Oh, damn! Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I hope you're still talking to your wife.
Yeah. Yeah, dearie me. Who's the best? What was the best? You got your favourite person to meet when you're out there?
I'll tell you what. I found the English guys awesome. I mean, Robert Watts was amazing. I mean, I could sit down one evening and listen to all of his stories. He was a lovely, lovely guy. He really was. And it was funny because on that day, Wendy and I were wearing these T-shirts. It was from The Empire Strikes Back. It was that famous line between Han and Leia. And so Wendy's T-shirt said, "I love you," and mine said, I know. And I thought that was cool because nobody else had those T-shirts on in the entire event that we saw, so that was pretty cool. But anyway, I'm standing there talking to Robert Watson, and he looks at me and he looks at my T-shirt, and he says to me, he goes, "What do you know?" like that, and I said, "Just 1 second." I said, "Wendy." Got her over, and we stood next to each other, and he said, "That's brilliant." He said, "That is amazing." So yeah, he was such a nice chap.
Yeah,
to speak to, you know.
Gives you time, lots to talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was great,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back to the Billy D. Williams. The bonus was when I went to Manchester to get his signature. I didn't realise it, but Dennis Lawson was there, so I got his as well. And he's not one that you come across too often, you know, old Wedge.
No.
And he was in all 3 movies. And I think nearly every person who signed my poster, they all had a speaking part. I think, apart from I guess Bosk, but yeah, that they would. It wasn't, you know, it's not like old second stormtrooper on the right or something like that. They're all pretty significant signings. So yeah, I'm pleased with it.
You need to complete the bounty hunters now. You've got Zucker,
Yeah.
Sporlon,
That's it.
Fett and Bosk.
Yeah.
Is Bill Hargreaves on there?
No, I haven't got him. And I mean, the guy who played Dengar, he's long gone, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, so I'll never manage that, sadly. But hey,
yeah. Well, it does. It looks amazing, mate, and I think you've made the right decision going down the same pen route, whether Anthony Daniels wants to argue it or not.
So when you stand back and look at it, it doesn't look sort of messy, if you like. It's still, you've got that nice image. They sort of blend in, and when you get closer, you can clearly see the signature. So I think, it works out okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Pleased with that. Yeah.
Well, right, we've certainly waffled on that bit between the two of us. It's yeah. I mean, let's get on to your collection, because you're a huge Star Wars collector, and you're renowned for being a Palitoy Star Wars collector. So, first of all, the first thing that springs up with me on that is what era Star Wars, when you were young, were you into? Was it, I don't know how old you are, you see, so were you on it from Star Wars, or was it Empire, or was it Jedi?
Yeah, so my time, I mean, I'm 47 in October, so my time was actually very late Empire and mainly Jedi. So I thought, so I missed the early stuff.
So you're talking about Palitoy cards coming out with no logo on them.
Yes,
at that point.
Absolutely. And
so why is it Palitoy now then?
It's a good question, because the logo that I remember was Kenner. The reason for that was because some of the stuff I got was like, you know, the Kenner imports. My AT-AT as a kid was a Kenner one, and a couple of carded figures had the Kenner logo on them. So I remember that. I do not remember the Palitoy logo. I think it's something I only got into, obviously, as an adult collector, and it wasn't immediate either. I only really focused on Palitoy since around 2009 properly.
Right.
I suppose I suppose it appealed to me that there was a lot less of it, and it was the British, you know, it was what was sold over here. I mean, the majority of my collection as a kid would have been Palitoy.
I mean, it is a stunning logo. It does strike. I mean,
it's an incredible logo. Yeah, it really is amazing logo. It's just sad that I don't remember it as a kid, you know.
So when you say you haven't focused on Palitoy since 2009, was that when you got back into Star Wars collecting, or did you go way back before that?
No, I first got back into Star Wars collecting. What happened was they, on VHS, they released the original trilogy in, I think it was like 1995, and it was digitally remastered, and I bought each copy in widescreen, and inside each copy there was like a little pamphlet. They were introducing the Power of the Force 2 line. I
remember them well,
and what blew me away was not the figures, because I thought the figures were awful. I mean, Princess Leia looks horrendous, and what got me was the vehicles. They'd used the original molds, they just had more detail to them, and that really brought it all back. I was thinking, oh, this is incredible, you know. I've got the land speeder and the X-wing there, and it made me get out my old collection, and I think remember watching an episode of the Antiques Roadshow, and I was talking a bit about it. And of course, their so-called experts were getting things wrong now, talking about it being quite rare to find a Boba Fett with his missile intact and on the back. And I was thinking, is it? And I slightly got excited because, of course, mine had the missile in it, but they're getting mixed up with the rocket firing Fett and so on. I remember that well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I decided to go out and buy a couple of the new issued vehicles. So I think I bought the X-Wing Land Speeder and the Falcon, and this was before I knew what was out there vintage wise. I'd never been to any shows or anything. There was a little local curiosity shop in Southgate that had a few vintage Star Wars bits in it, and I started buying up some bits from there. And I was just, anything I could get, I was excited by. The guy used to go to the States and bring some bits back, and I remember getting a couple of nice bits there. But to show you how naive I was, I remember seeing in his window there was a Kenner carded die-cast land speeder. There was a little price ticket on there. It said 100, and I thought that was £1, and it wasn't. It was £100, and that's actually quite expensive back then. But nobody else is selling Star Wars, so he was doing pretty well.
Did you buy it?
I didn't. No, I didn't buy it. I think I was quite shocked.
I suppose there's a big difference between thinking it's £1 to being £100. Yeah.
yes, it's a slight difference. Yeah. So no, I never bought that one. But I remember I used to put a load of loose figures in the window, and by the end of the week, they was always gone. They had to restock because it was so hot. They were just selling like hotcakes, all the stuff.
Yeah, there's always been a market for it, hasn't there?
Yeah.
So up until 2009, then you were collecting anything?
I was pretty much, I was sort of, as time goes on, you tend to sort of up the bar a little bit. I started sort of just getting anything I could, and then I started thinking, well, I sort of want to get really clean figures, and then I eventually moved on to packaged stuff. And I think my first carded figure, it was a Kenner 8D8, which cost me £15. I was really chuffed with that, over the moon. And it went from there, and as time goes on, you sort of you want to have better condition. That's how it went for me anyway. I sort of started to appreciate condition, and then I ended up with quite a nice set of the first 21 figures on their Star Wars cards, 12 backs and 21 backs. I went for.
That was on Kenner, was it?
Yeah, that was on Kenner, but I think 3 of them were Palitoy. I was sort of just getting what I could get, and it just worked out. I think the Vader, the Stormtrooper, and the Death Squad Commander were Palitoy, and the rest were all Kenner.
Nice.
And I did get the Boba Fett as well from Jim Stevenson.
Nice, very nice. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's the problem, wasn't it? It was a different collecting time. I mean, where were you sourcing them? Were you going off to the fairs and stuff that Jason George was putting on?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The first experience I believe was at Pickett's Lock. There was it was in the corridor inside the leisure centre. There was a little setup, and there was a representative there from a shop in Croydon at the time called Modeller's Loft, which was a lovely shop. That really had some right nice stuff in there. And he had some really nice things on his table. There was a few other chaps there, and I then went to the shows in Cheshunt, and I was pretty much getting, because it was different then. You didn't have the internet like you do today, so you really got butterflies in your stomach going to these fairs, because these were where you was going to pick up your vintage. You really was really excited queuing up to get in. So it's not quite the same these days, how it used to be for me anyway.
It's a very different time, isn't it? I mean, when it comes to, we'll go back to 2009 in a minute, but with regards to prices, I mean, Star Wars, I thought it was expensive at the start of COVID. The prices now, just some of the stuff that I see sold, I mean, I don't think you could even buy a carded Klaatu now for under £100. I think everything's just, it's at least 3 times the value.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked today. Somebody put up on Facebook a baggy Boba Fett. I think it was a Star Wars D baggy. So it's just like a plain baggy that says "Made in Hong Kong" on it. It's sealed. And I mean, he was asking like £800, and wasn't that long ago. Probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I picked up one from a good buddy in the hobby for like £250. And I always say to myself, I've seen it all. I'm not going to get shocked anymore. And then I see something and it just shocks me. And I couldn't believe how much price has gone up. Because I asked a couple of guys and I was like, is this guy, is this overpriced? And they said, no, it's really, things are really shot up. And I've seen it.
Have you had to rethink your collecting because of it's gone?
I sort of, it's weird because I sort of see myself as semi-retired almost now because I'm no longer going for runs and no longer on quests to complete sets anymore, really. I mean, there are one or two things I'm looking for, but now I just buy what I like. If I can afford it, or buy it. If I like it, I'll get it. But I'm not saying, I've got to complete this 12-back set. I've got to, I've stopped doing that, and I feel better for it really because I don't think I could do it anymore now. I certainly couldn't start again now. I'd have no chance. The stuff is so thin on the ground now, and when it does come up for sale, as you say, it's a fortune. And the stuff that I'd be wanting, it's probably out of my league now.
Yeah, that's
I'm grateful that because I have had some major sales over the years, but I've never got rid of all of it, and I've sort of built back up bits and bobs, and I'm happy I did that. So I don't have there's some guys who've got incredible amounts of stuff. I don't have massive collections like these guys, but what I do have is quality. It's not quantity, and to be honest, it's easier to manage. I wouldn't have the room for vast collection like some guys have,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's me now, really.
So let's go into some of it then, because you sent me some amazing shots, and the first thing that I noticed, there's a fair amount of graded stuff in your collection. Yeah. I take it that appeals to you.
It's actually quite rare now to find a mint piece that isn't graded. That's quite a rarity in itself now. Most clean items you see are graded. A lot of them are. I mean, I'm a culprit to that because I've got a hold of some lovely mint pieces and I've sent them off and got them graded. I like it because it's I mean, firstly, the piece is well protected and it's documented. I don't think I need someone else to authenticate it, but there's certain pieces that it's probably better to have them authenticated than not. And it does make it easier to sell if you're selling online, something that's graded to something that isn't, that's a fact.
And looking through what you've actually sent me, I mean, all the graded pieces are either 80 or 85. So you're talking, they're good quality pieces. We're not talking 70s and 65s here. They are. I
mean, see, this is the thing. It's really, it's almost unfair to sort of dismiss a 70 and 75 because, I mean, the definition of a 75 is like excellent plus to near mint. And I'm just as guilty. You sort of turn your nose up to a 70. You're sort of looking for 80 and above, But the 75 is still fairly respectable. But obviously, we all like the 80s and 85s and so on. And I mean, so with the grading, with the, let's say, like the sealed vehicles, I think it's a pretty good idea to grade a sealed item because you've sort of captured that moment in time when it's sealed, and even if the tape pops, it's still in a sealed unit, so that nobody's actually ever touched that. They've not opened that, even if the tape has popped, because it's still sealed. If that makes sense. So I think that's quite clever. I don't like to grade any unused vehicles because that stops you having a look inside if you fancy it sealed and nice untouched contents. So I think nearly everything in my collection that's unused is not graded, So I do like that.
So let's go through a few bits of me. First of all, the first thing that strikes me from what you sent me was you're clearly Luke heavy. I mean, not just one or two Lukes. You're Luke heavy across the board with the vintage Luke figures. I'm guessing Luke X-Wing's your favourite because there's a few more of that, but all the Lukes are covered here in this run. There's layers that are covered in this run. There's hands that are covered in this run. Outside of that, you haven't sent me any photos of any characters outside of those three.
No.
Is that how your collection is?
I do have a few of the other characters, but I just sort of sent you my main love, really, and I suppose Luke is my number one love. And I do like the early other characters as well. I do like Leia and Han too. But yeah, Luke is the outstanding one for me. And yeah, it's always been about Luke, I guess. So
I am a little bit concerned. Now, you have got a beautiful, and it is a beautiful example of a loose DT Luke. It's graded.
Yeah.
It's stunning condition. I love it. But I can remember you once telling me that you bite off the little filaments because you didn't like them as on the lightsabers. You like them to be the same size.
Yeah, all of my my childhood figures with those lightsabers, they no longer have their teeth, I'm afraid, because my logic as a kid was a lightsaber was the same width all the way along, so teeth shouldn't be there. So I bit them off.
To be fair, the amount of loose ones you see with that bitten off or snapped off is incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So so they were purposely done, not through wear and tear. I actually removed them intentionally. So there you go. Yeah.
I mean, this is a stunning condition. Any backstory to picking that up?
The DT.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was Frank Muse who helped me out. Because I always fancied it. I mean, quite a few years ago, I had a chance to buy a mint carded one. It was like 85 grade, and I think I could have got it for about £6,000 or £7,000. And I didn't buy it. Well, I wish I had now, obviously, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to have a loose one. And I think if I get one, I'd probably want a graded one because I don't trust myself with the loose stuff. I'm not sure if I could, 100% say if this is real or fake. I'm not sure about it because the way it is now with reflow weapons, they're getting better every day, aren't they? They really are something. So I wouldn't try, and I just thought something like that should be graded. So it was Frank Muse who helped me out, and it was quite a few years ago now, but he arranged for me to buy one, and I got it for a pretty decent price. Even at the time, it was a very fair price, and I was really happy with that. Nice addition, that Luke.
It is stunning. It's stunning.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I think I'm not sure. So in this case, it's like the lightsaber. It's retracted. I'm not sure if I'd have wanted it all on show, but well, that's how it is. But it's been nice to see it fully extended. But no, it's still cool. It's nice thing.
Very nice piece, mate. Very nice piece.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah.
And obviously, you've got the original Luke Skywalker. You've got him on a tri-logo. You've got him on I think it's a 12B. I can't find the photo.
Yes.
But yeah.
I did actually have him on a 12A, and sort of over recent years, having the early cards unpunched has appealed a bit more to me because unlike your 12 backs and your 30 backs and your 20 backs, if the card's unpunched and when you turn it over and look at the back, the logo's intact on the back. But if it's punched, then half the logo's missing because on the back of the card, the punch is right on the logo.
Right.
You get that with the 12s, 20s and 30s. So the 12A that I had was punched. But to be honest, one of my good mates, he just had to have a 12A. And he traded my 12A with the 12B that I've got now. And he gave me $3,500 on top. And I said, you know what? If it means that much, I mean, I'm happy to have an unpunched example. So yeah, go for it. I let him have the 12A, and I've got the 12B now. So yeah,
very nice.
Yeah, it's a very nice example. You're really sort of looking at microscopic detail, but the 12A I had was also a 85. It was a UKG graded. This one's a 85 AFA. The AFA one is actually better condition, but again, you have to look closely to see it. So it's a nice piece. It's a nice piece to have.
Yeah, you've got what you've shown me. You've got 8 Luke X-wings.
Yes.
Palitoy cards. I mean, these are incredible. Yes.
So that's basically the full basic run from start to finish.
Right. So what are they then? Yeah. So the Star Wars card is a 20.
The Star Wars cards are 20. Then you've got the 30 back, and then you've got the 41 back. And trying to think of memory, I think I can't remember if it's a 41A or B. I can't honestly remember. I'll have to check that out. And then you've got the 45A, you've got the 45B, then you've got the 45C, and the 65 back.
Jedi, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. So the 45B to C is a transition from Empire to Jedi. Then you've got the 65 back and the tri-logo. That's pretty much the basic run. You know, I mean, one of my collecting buddies, he's pretty much the guru on Luke X-Wing. I mean, he had the ultimate Luke X-Wing collection, and he's got, you know, different bubble types and things like that. He's sort of taken it to another level. I mean, he's got tri-logo misc cards of Luke X-Wing as well. You know,
yeah, amazing.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And yeah, it took me a while to do that run. The Jedi cards proved the most difficult to find.
Well, that's it. I know that Jez recently bought your 45C off you. And
yes.
I mean, just that alone, can you just explain? I mean, we're 45C here, so we're on the Jedi card. Just how rare is that card?
I mean, it's an extremely hard one to find. To try and explain it to you, there was the one that Jez has now. That was for public sale on the Vectis auction, and I got into a bidding war on that one. And I don't believe there's been another. At that time, there hadn't been a public sale of a Luke X-Wing for a long, long time that I knew of. And the only reason one or two others came up for sale was because the guy I'm talking about, who's had the unbelievable Luke X-Wing collection, he decided to let a couple go. And if it wasn't for him letting those go, I don't think a couple of others would have the Luke X-Wing. I mean, Jez probably wouldn't have that today, because I'd still have it, because I managed to get an upgrade basically in condition. Otherwise, I'd have been keeping hold of that one. There was another chap who let a 65 back go, which is actually rarer than the 45. And the only reason he put that for sale was, I think, because of the Vectis results. So I'm, you know, on one side of the coin, I paid an incredible amount of money for one, probably a record at the time. I don't think anyone had paid anywhere near that for a Luke X-Wing. But then I don't think one had come up for sale for such a long time. And on the other side of the coin, it's because of that kind of money generated that the other one probably became available. You know, otherwise that might have stayed locked away in the collection. Not, you know, because that's what attracted the guy to get that kind of money for it. The 65, and I got that as well, because that completed the run getting that 65. So I already had the tri-logo. They're considerably easier to get, but even now, Stu, they're going for incredible money. A mint tri-logo Luke X-Wing is a lot of money now. You know. Yeah,
it's a funny old game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, also quite interesting. Your 65 pack you're talking about. It's I've just got it open at the moment. I must, first of all, I do like the Jedi Palitoy things, because you've got no logo now, so you get that full image, and the Luke X does have a fantastic image. But also your price tag on there.
Yes.
Is a US price tag, so 79 cents, and it's interesting that the Palitoy stuff had made it to America.
Very interesting, and apparently it's quite common. You see quite a few of the 65s with that KB price sticker on them. Somebody put up something recently on Facebook about that, because they were sort of identifying fake price tags, you know, where people put on a price tag maybe over some damage or something on the card, you know. But tracing it back, it's quite genuine with the Luke X-Wing and a few other Jedi pieces to have that KB price tag on them. And it is interesting because quite a few rare Palitoy pieces have been found abroad. There's been a few tough 45As found in Australia. Obviously, some stuff found in the US. So it is interesting.
Do you know what?
It's been found all over.
I can kind of get it going to like European countries or maybe Australia, but the fact that America had Kenner and they were churning out these toys, I'm just surprised that they would then come over to Britain and import stuff. Yeah. All I can think is as if they were, you know, they were struggling to get them out in time. It's just very, very interesting. It's just
completely, yeah. And I don't know, like, regarding the Jedi card Luke X-Wings, if they were made in a shortage of numbers, or they were just so popular, you know, the kids all bought them up, and that's why there's hardly any about today still sealed up in the packaging, you know.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, none of my stuff. Mum used to come and meet her from school, and she sometimes used to bring a figure, and there's no chance that figure made it home in its packaging. That was ripped open straight away, you know.
Yeah. Just looking through your photos as well, you've got a Luke Jedi. You've got one here packed with 2 blue sabers.
Yeah.
Now, I'm taking it the blue saber is a lot rarer than the green saber on the Palitoy.
It's a lot tougher on Palitoy and on Kenner.
Yeah.
Particularly on Palitoy, it's very tough.
So to have two in there is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just. I think that's just well, I don't know of any others. So as far as I'm aware, that's a one-off. Just a mistake, And I got that from Jim Stevenson quite a few years ago now. He had it. I first saw it in one of the NEC memorabilia shows, and I remember talking to a few of the guys, and they said, "Yeah, he's got it, but it's very expensive. It's like 250 quid." And I thought, I really like it. I did want a blue sabered Luke Jedi, because I remember as a kid, you always get the friend who's got everything, and I had this guy as a good mate, and his mum used to buy him absolutely everything Star Wars related. His collection was amazing, and he got Luke Jedi as soon as it came out, and his one came with a blue lightsaber. Sometime down the line, I got one, and mine had the green saber. And at the time, I was a lot happier, because I was like, well, that's it's wrong, because in the film I'd seen Jedi and he had the green saber in the release of Return of the Jedi, and at the time I was happy to have the green one, but obviously now as a collector, I'm happy to have the blue one. I've actually got both now. I've got a really nice green example a year or so ago. I've got them both.
Yeah, your green one's quite nice because his cape's off, isn't it? And it's all behind
him,
so you can see the figure.
A completely different. Yes, it's a completely different bubble. I think from a different factory possibly, because the blue one is like in a very simple double stem bubble, and he's actually got his cloak on. But the green one, it's sort of packed behind him. It's a far more sophisticated bubble with the inner tray and so on. It's very Kenner-esque, if you like. It's not something you'd expect to see on a Palitoy card, but yeah. So,
was the inner tray only available on Jedi? Was that a newish?
On some
concept?
late Empire, there's a couple like so on the 45A Dengar, it's like the tray sort of the bubble type's a bit ahead of its time almost. It's like that. It seems far too sophisticated for a card that early. But yeah, you've got it on the Dengar 45A, and also on the C-3PO removable limbs 45A. You've got an inner tray as well.
Yeah.
So there were a couple that had that, and it's pretty late,
Nice. Well, I mean, just going through the rest of the bits and pieces, you've got all your bases covered. There's Han Bespin, Leia Bespin, Luke Bespins. You've got both the poses on the card back, obviously image. They look amazing, both on the Empire. Luke Hoth. You've got the tri-logos with the last 17 figures. What's your favourite carded figure?
Oh God, I mean, I think the most iconic is the 12-back Luke. That image and so on. That's to me is the most iconic mint on card in the entire line of vintage. I do like the Luke Bespin with the walking photo, which is the first issue. I mean, it's a lot more common than, relatively speaking, of course, than the second issue 30, which has got the looking photo. But the photo itself is only available on the 30A, and in the Kenner line, you can only get it on the the 31 back, because all other issues of that Luke, the photo is the looking photo, and there is a variation on the tri-logo looking as well, which is nice. So I really like the Luke Bespin as well. But it's hard. I mean, there's so many that I like. They're all good.
That's it.
And that's what I did. Like, regarding my collecting journey, initially when I got into Palitoy in 2009, I did go on a quest to put the sets together, and I managed to get the full set of 20. And I got the large head Han as well, which was a bonus. And then I ended up letting the set go in about early 2013, and a lot of the money I got, I bought up the Empire line. I sort of realised that at the time I probably wouldn't be able to put runs together in the same figure, like my Luke X-Wing. I mean, obviously top collectors like Gary Smith, they've done this from the beginning, and he's managed to put a lot of these runs together. And I thought that would be a bit a step too far. So I thought, well, I'll try and do like the first issue run of Empire, and I nearly did it. There was only one figure I didn't manage to get, and that was a 30-back Boba Fett. That was a bit beyond me. But apart from that, I managed to get virtually all the first issue Palitoy Empire from the 30s to the 45B, which would have been Zuckus. I got that on the 45B import card, the Dutch import. The only way you could get him on Palitoy. You could get a Kenner version which had a Palitoy sticker on the back, but there's a Kenner logo on the front of that card, so I went with the Dutch import. And I mean, the absolute purists, I managed to do the first 10 Empire 30 backs, but they were on a mixture of A and B cards. I only know of 2 other collectors that have managed the complete first 10 on 30A. That's probably near impossible to do. But to do it at all, like on the mixture, is pretty tough as well. So I was pleased to do that. And as I say, I nearly done the second. I just was missing the FET. And then I just did the 45 A's and that Zuckus. And I was pleased to do that. But I did have a sort of an offer I couldn't refuse in early 2017, where I sold a hell of a lot of it off. But I kept back the Lukes. That's what kept me going. Yeah. So I kept back the 12 back Luke and the Luke X-Wing on the Star Wars run. On the Empire run, I kept back the Luke Bespin. And on the Trilogue, I kept back the Luke Stormtrooper and the Luke Poncho. So and the Luke Hoth on the 45A. And
so the rest of this is kind of grown from 2017 again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
it's quite impressive. Still quite impressive in that time period.
Yes. The only thing I didn't sell was the vehicles side, you see. And I'm glad I didn't, because it's pretty tough to find unused vehicles and stuff today.
Well, let's go on to these, because again, you sent me these. These are stunning, and I mean, I love all the vehicles, but as a run and the condition you have got this stuff in is phenomenal. Let's start with the X-Wings, because you've got 4 Palitoy boxed X-Wings. I take it that's the run.
Yes.
Take me through them a minute. What they are.
So I've got the Palitoy Star Wars issue, and I've got the first issue Empire X-Wing, which is just like the Star Wars one. There's no battle damage stickers on that one. And then you've got the battle damaged issue, which is first issued in the Empire box. And then it's like the same battle damage X-Wing in the Jedi box. I'm missing one, but I've never really looked for that. And to be honest with you, I don't think the outcome would be any different, because it's an extremely rare one. It's the Tri-Logo X-Wing, which is like gold dust. That's really tough to find. But I've never actually ever looked for that one. So to me, I'm happy. It's that's complete for me. I'm happy with that.
Now, it's my favourite ship. I think this run it is just. I mean, you sent me an actual little video of this. It is outstanding. Everything about it, I absolutely love. It is incredible.
It was nice to get them unused, to have all the paperwork intact and sticking on the plug.
Do you have to? I mean, a lot of what we're about to talk about is in that condition. Is that a rule of thumb for you when buying a ship or a playset?
Yes, it is now. Yes, as I said, as time has gone on, I've sort of raised the bar, and now everything in my collection is either sealed or unused. It's almost, I don't know. You almost, some of the fun is almost gone, because I don't know. You sort of see a piece and you start looking for the flaws and the faults on it, and instead of just appreciating it for what it is, But yeah, it just, that's the way it goes for you. You just see the stuff in a different way now. I've seen so much of it. And now it's like only the best will do. Has to be sort of unused or sealed for me to consider it, But that's just me. I think the purest history is to see it untouched, how it left the factory. See it like that, and that's just it's great to see it like that.
This video you sent me, is this how you've got them set up? Because you've got the 4 of them on a shelf. Yeah. One of them's graded, but the other 3 aren't. So you've got them kind of like the box at the back of the shelf, and then you've got them in there.
If I had the room, if I only had the room, I set them up for the video, and then they've all gone back in their boxes. And yes, they don't live like that, unfortunately.
They look so nice like that. I know there'd be a dust in hell, but
well, a good friend of mine, Gary Smith in the hobby, that's what he likes. He likes to have the box and then like the vehicle in front of the box in its glory. And if you got the room for it, that's a lovely way to display it. It really is. but no, unfortunately, I don't have any of my stuff set up like that permanently. It's all in its box, you know. And I just get them out every now and then to maybe take some pictures or so on, you know. But, yeah, I'm hoping to one day have a bigger room to maybe do a bit more of that, but we'll see.
Yeah, Grant was telling me that he is under the impression that the first issue Empire Strikes Back box, the instructions,
yes,
are really rare. He was trying to tell me they're more rare than the early bird coupon.
Right.
Just to put it in a comparison. I mean,
Right.
have you heard that?
I've not heard that comparison, but they are rare. I mean, they are super rare. They're very hard to come by. I mean, I didn't see them for quite a few years. I didn't know that it existed that way. And then when I can't remember how long ago it was I actually first saw them. But they are quite unique. You know, I think it's like a A5 size. It's a very small piece of paper, and it's quite a plain sort of looking thing. And it just says at the very bottom, it says like the Palitoy Company, which, you know, that's quite an early description, really. You know, yeah, they're very unique, and there's a lot of people that are after those to complete their box, and they are, as I say, they are unique to that box.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very tough. I mean, I was very fortunate. This is, God, I think it was in like 2014, I think, or was it earlier than that? It might have been a bit earlier. Somebody listed a load of like instruction parts on eBay. I mean, they had a load of it. It's like one of those when you click on the page and then you click on the one that you want. They've got like a massive list of whatever, and I just had a look through and I saw those instructions on there, and they're in really clean condition. And I bought them for like, I think £20 I paid for those.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are rare, very sought after, very rare. I'm not aware of how rare they are compared to like that coupon that Grant mentioned. I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, if he says so, it's probably right. You know, he knows his stuff.
Yeah. But let's just go through a few of these other bits, because I'm aware that I've kept you for quite a while already.
No, it's all right.
I mean, you've got the Dagobah play set, quite difficult to find. Box like that is in lovely. I mean, the foam still looks in good nick in the photo.
Yeah, that foam can really deteriorate quick. I think the best thing to do is not to touch it, just leave it alone.
Capture log, posters in there. I mean, all of these, just to the listeners, as we go through this, these are all unplayed with. Most of the parts for these things are still in their bags, and the boxes look immaculate. I mean, these are stunning. Love that. Really nice set. Now, the cloud car. Now, this looks absolute. The condition of this looks incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's. I was sort of picking up these things when you were able to. That was one of Jim Stevenson's, and I remember him. I think he had that on his table for a long, long time. You know, because back then a lot of people didn't really care as much about the box stuff being in that kind of condition. So, and probably the fact that he had it quite expensive at the time, you know. I was pleased to get that, because that's pretty difficult to find unused.
I mean, that is stunning condition. I mean, we hear it all the time when people mention Jim Stevenson's in interviews or just conversation. They said he was a real stickler for condition, and every time you mentioned him tonight, I've got that from him. We're seeing that in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his table setup was amazing to see. You know, it was really nice to see a store like that with all that stuff on there. You know, it's a bit like that shop I mentioned earlier, that Modeler's Loft. I mean, you walked in there, it was like stepping back in time, looking at a well-tended toy shop, because all of their stuff was immaculate. They had quite a high standard. I think they had like 300 carded figures in really good condition at the time. But again, it was at a time where this stuff was more available to pick up. You know, it was still out there.
Yeah, you don't see condition like this very often, do you?
Not too often. And no. You know. So yeah, I think one of my best condition boxes is the Snow Speeder. And
yes, that's next. The box looks absolutely mint. I mean, that
honestly,
could be shot all today, couldn't it?
It looks so good. You look at it and you think, is that a reissue box? You know, they did the vintage collection reissues.
Yeah.
You could almost think, oh, is that one of them? Because it looks so immaculate. And I mean, this one is ridiculous. This was listed on eBay just casually as a buy it now like 125 quid. It didn't go into detail. It just said like box snow speeder, and we took a chance on it, and my friend and I we got it, and we were the first ones to open it, because some of these, you know, when you're the first, because the boxes can be so tight to open sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you look inside, sometimes the instructions are there, they're not perfectly neatly placed in there like the way we do them when we own something. They're just shoved in there, and I could sort of tell that, yeah, that had never been opened. The tape had literally popped, but nobody had ever opened it. And
That is stunning,
so
mate.
it was a pleasure to get that one. Yeah.
I mean, if you'll let us use the images, I will get Craig to put together an enhanced on this, because anybody who is listening to just
welcome,
view the condition of this
I'm
stuff.
happy to, no, honestly, you go for it. It's nice to show it. You know, it's nice to see it like that. So,
and then you've got another really tough one with inserts. That's the turret and probot. They don't come up very often complete at all.
No.
Anyway, even in bad condition, let alone the condition you've got it in. Stunning, absolutely stunning again. Imperial
that's a
attack
tough
base.
one. Yeah, they're both pretty tough to get, you know. But I was happy to find the boxes in half decent condition, because it's difficult to find the boxes nice. Actually, with I think it was the turret that came from Dave Tree. He got hold of a few bits from a chap who I think he was a bit eccentric. He was like a kid, and he got the toys, and what he done, I think he neatly applied the stickers, and he just sort of left them, didn't really play with them. And so my turret is slightly manufactured, because I bought that one from Dave, and what I done, I replaced the probots. So I got because that one had come out of the bag, so I got a sealed bag probot Palitoy, and I got a set of unused stickers. So I sort of put that together myself to make it an unused example, because to find one totally just unused, probably near impossible. So I had to sort of slightly manufacture that one, but obviously all the parts are original, unused. So
Lovely piece, mate. And I have to, I mean, this is probably one of my favourite items for the smaller box type of things, but your Tauntaun is just stunning. Now that's graded. It's graded 85. Yes. Is that sealed as well?
Yes. Yeah, that's fully sealed, and I mean the tape is like crystal clear. It looks like it was sealed yesterday, to be honest. And the story on that one, that actually came out of a factory case, and I think that's why a few of those were available at some point, because it's near impossible to find the very first issue sealed. I'm not sure I know of one that exists. I've got a really nice unused one, but I don't know of one that's fully sealed. But this one, there used to be a place or shop called Twilight Zone, and that the proprietor of that was a guy called David Oliver, who was a collector back in the day, and I got it from there. And it was at a time when nobody really cared about sealed stuff, and it was just dirt cheap, and it was sent to me, and I was quite taken back by the condition, totally brand new, untouched, and so I'm glad I got that graded, because it's sort of, it's intact now. It's sealed up forever, if you like. yeah, it's a really nice one.
It's making me want to go buy Palitoy stuff. This interview. I mean, just flicking through. I mean, they got the Darth Vader tie. I mean, that just looks unused and mint as well. But it's just unbelievable the condition you've managed to assemble.
That came from the CNT auction a couple of years ago. I think it was a CNT. A couple they spent many years putting together a collection, and it was incredible condition. I sort of bought it on a whim. I didn't premeditate to get it. I was watching the auction, and it was hovering at a price, and I thought, well, this is very reasonable, and I put a bid in, and I managed to get it. And it really is incredible condition, because that box it's not one of those sort of corrugated carded boxes. You get these really sturdy boxes, like the Snowspeed is one of them, and I think like the Falcon and so on. This box is quite weak, and it's quite a big, wide box. I mean, it's hard to find it like that. Very hard. This is literally I mean, I actually drove down there to pick it up. I didn't get it sent by post. I picked it up personally. Yeah, really, really nice.
And the other thing I'm noticing from this image, I mean, that you're going to think this is really left field, but you've taken a photo of this on a computer chair, but I can see your light switch in the background has got a little picture of Darth Vader, a little picture of Yoda with dark side, light side written on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about £1 or £2 from Amazon that was. It was like a sticker. Yeah, I thought that was quite cool.
Keen eye.
Yeah,
And then
well
you've gone into everything else. You've got unused end of forest Rangers. Y-wing looks incredible. Is there anything you're particularly missing that you would love to add?
Yeah, I'm missing a mini rig that I'm after, and it's ISP 6, but I want it in the Buy Logo Palitoy box, and it's a tough one, you know. So I know somebody who's got one, but they have a real passion for their collection, so I don't think that's going anywhere for some time, if at all. So yeah, I mean, it's nice to still have a couple of things that I'm looking out for. So I'd like that. Off the top of my head, I can't honestly think of anything else that I really am after. As I say, you know, you see something you like it, if you can get it, you get it. You know, but no, I'm quite happy to sit back and see what comes along. Funny enough, I don't have an unused Palitoy Millennium Falcon. I used to have a Jedi one, and that was actually fully sealed. And I traded that for the braided battle damaged X-wing that you've seen.
Yeah.
So that was fine, but I've never had the Empire Falcon. The reason for that is because I've got a Star Wars one that's unused, and I just thought it was quite incredible to have a Star Wars Falcon, because obviously you couldn't get that over here.
No.
But so, and it's having the room. I mean, I suppose, I wouldn't turn down a lovely unused Empire Palitoy Falcon, but who knows? You know, just you know, who knows what comes my way. If I can get one, maybe I'll get one. If not, I'll stick with the Star Wars one.
I think that's how you have to collect now, isn't it? I think you can't go out and look for it like that, and you have these little things you want to tick off, and let them out there. I mean, you know, now I know what you're after. If I see one, I can let you know. It's kind of...
Well, that's, you know, I've had so much help over the years from good friends in the hobby. They really have helped me out, and you know, things that I probably wouldn't have been able to get a hold of if it weren't for having a good network of collectors and friends in the hobby.
Yeah.
So and that's such a invaluable thing in the hobby. The people I've met, and it's been great. You know.
Yeah.
Some really, really super guys in the hobby. So,
yeah. Right, mate, before we close out the interview, I'm going to ask you, what is your favourite collecting story? I mean, you must have many.
There's a few, but I suppose the one that comes to mind is back in 2009. Unbeknownst to me, that was, as I said before, that was the sort of start of my serious Palitoy journey. But that wasn't the original plan at all. I always said to myself, I said, right, if ever I get the chance, then I'd love to own a really clean 12-back Palitoy Luke, because, as I said before, you know, the most iconic figure to me. The original trilogy is all about Luke and his journey, and I really wanted one, and it's one of those mint on cards that sort of has always been really right up there and really desirable. Like many years ago, it seemed like near impossible to get a hold of one. Early 2009, I got a message from a friend of mine who's a good collecting buddy, and he said, "Have you seen the internet, eBay? Sorry." I said, "I haven't looked at it lately. What's up?" And he said, "Somebody's listed a mint 12-back Palitoy Chewbacca. They're listed for about £1,600. And in the listing, it also mentioned that he has other mint 12-backs, including the Luke, Ben, and Vader with the double telescoping sabers." I thought, okay, let me check this out. I had a look, and it said that. And I thought, maybe he's made a listing error, or he's not really clued up on the stuff, because, as many know, those double telescopings were never done on the Palitoy card. So I thought, well, let's have a look at this. And I mean, the images he put up on the tree were amazing. They were just really high definition, really good photos of all angles. So I thought, well, let me contact him and go from there. And I did, and sure enough, he got back to me pretty quick, and he said, he's got the Luke. He hasn't advertised it for long, and he sent me some really great images of Luke, and I said, these look amazing, like stock photos. And I said, so what's your price? And he got back to me and he said it's $1,400. And I was like, right. I thought he'd made a typo. I thought he meant to type 2 for 2,400. And it turned out, no, it was £1,400. And I said, well, that's sold. Can we arrange to pick it up, or, and he basically was happy for myself and my friend to go to his place, other side of London. Quite trusting, really, having a couple of strangers turning up to your place to look at valuable toys. And he actually said to me that he picked up the full 20 in mint condition from Jim Stevenson. And I'd actually spoken to Jim at a previous toy fair, and Jim told me that he'd recently sold a full set, him and Andy, his son. So the stories sort of match up. I thought, right, well, I'm in for a treat here. These are going to be kosher. They're going to be top drawer. And we got there, and sure enough, laid out on the floor was all 20 first, Palitoy figures, all mint carded. And we were sort of blown away because, especially back then, it's not often you got to see something like that. So, we were really taken back. And he actually had a few other toy lines, some rare British sort of Mego type toys from the 70s. So, yeah, we were just sort of starstruck with all the stuff he had. Checked the Luke out, and it was kosher, top drawer.
That's the one still in your collection now, isn't it?
No, that is the A card that I let go. That I traded.
Right. This one
did
leave.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, of course it did. Yeah, you said earlier.
Yes, so it was ungraded. I mean, they were all ungraded,
Yeah.
So yeah, and sort of to put a cherry on the top, he gave me 50 quid back. He said, "Well, here's your petrol money." So it cost me 13.50 in the end. And
bargain, mate. You think how much that's worth now?
I mean, I remember Jason Joyner ran a telephone auction because he'd got hold of a set of the first 20 from some chap. The condition of those weren't in the League of These, but they were still decent. And I mean, this was in like 2000, or it was either 99 or 2000. And I think back then the Luke went for a couple of grand because Luke has always been like the one. And as time has gone on, you had an episode with the Chewie being sort of the one that everyone wanted, and now it seems to be Ben. Me personally, I always put Luke right up there, always. And it didn't stop there. Sort of got friendly with a chap, and we met up a few times, and I ended up having quite a few of the figures in that collection. So that was a real boost to my 12 and 20 set, and it's pretty much because of that so I managed to complete it in late 2010. And the last two figures I needed were the Ben and the small head Han. And amazingly, I got those two that were in that collection because my other good buddy, a guy called Lee Gregory, he picked those up, and he sold them to me in late 2010. So quite a lot of those of the first 12 came from that set. So it was
great story.
Yeah, it was, it was awesome, and it's quite amusing because apparently when Jim found out what he'd sold the Luke to me for, he went ballistic. He said that's a $2+ grand piece. He said, I'd have had it back of you for that.
I think you've got over talking to you tonight on this whole interview. You love a Jim Stevenson piece. It's right for your collection.
I know. I mean, it's just, I suppose I'd seen a lot of Jim at the fairs that I'd been to. He always stood at the fairs that I went to, and I mean, obviously those figures that didn't come directly from him, but it's just, I suppose it's a small world. That chap got them. He was apparently a real big customer of Jim's, and he used to buy loads of the Mego stuff and superheroes and all the other 70s stuff from Jim. And it's amazing that he made that investment because he didn't really know much about Star Wars, but he did it as a pure investment. And the story was that he bought them in late 2008 for 16,000 for the 20. And come 2009, there was like a credit crunch, and he lost his job. I think he was in telecommunications or something, and he decided to sell up quite a few bits, because he'd only had them 5 minutes. He hadn't had them long at all.
No.
And I was just in the right place at the right time because I went to the NEC a few months later, and the story was sort of around the stores. People were talking about saying, yeah, mint 12-back Luke sold for that. I was like, well, news travels fast, But yeah, it was a good memory. But I genuinely thought I thought he was written it down, like messaged me incorrectly. I thought he wanted 2.5 or 2,400 for it, which is, it was worth that, to be honest.
Well, mate, that is a great bit of business. Different time of collecting, wasn't it? But
it was different. It was.
That was amazing.
It was. So
yeah,
that's the story that always stick in the memory.
Yeah, well, if I ask that question to too many collectors, I very much doubt they'll have such a such a story. But that's brilliant.
It was just great, just driving there, and I think the sat nav played up a few times, and we finally got there. But it was a great evening. Yeah.
Well, mate, that is brilliant. I love it. Love all these stories.
Yeah,
they're so good and so much fun to talk about, and it's great times. Something like Star Wars, even now, is so good for mental health as well. This day and age, that you have that focus and you have that interest that can take you out of everyday life. It is good, and he would just like to say to you, John, that if you are struggling to display these beautiful pieces, he wouldn't mind. He's happy to look after your 30B, your 41B, and your 45A Luke X-Wing for you. He's here to do a hand.
I mean, someone like Jersey, he's a great guy, and his passion for Luke X-Wing is maybe arguably greater than mine. So it's somebody like him. He'd be very deserving of pieces like that. So
Okay, I can tell you're getting tired calling Jez a great guy. I mean,
no, he's a quite a fella. He is, So I was genuinely happy to make that happen for him to get that Luke X-Wing. I knew what it meant to him to have that. That was great. Really
well, John, thank you for sharing your collecting journey. Thank you for sharing the images you sent me for Tunisia and talking about that. I've now got that open as a tab on my computer, which I don't need, but it will stay open, I'm sure, and I'll have a little gander at that. It's been fantastic chatting with you. It's always nice seeing you at events. Such a collection, mate. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
No, my pleasure. And keep you posted. I hope you can do that journey one day, because you'll love it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've got to go and talk the wife into it.
Yeah, no, why not? Indeed. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you down the road. The next event. I'm guessing you'll be at the next Echo.
Yeah, at the next Echo. Yeah. I'll be at the next Farthest From when Dave announces
Excellent. It. Yep. Excellent.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
Brilliant.
Well, a huge thank you to John for taking his time to speak with me and going through his Star Wars passions. If you want to do an interview and come on as a guest, you can email us at generationskywalker@gmail.com. And of course, go and check us out on social media: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search for Generation Skywalker. Of course, over on Facebook, we have the community page. We are Generation Skywalker. You're looking for that. That's where the discussion is. Go over to YouTube. You'll find our enhanced videos, the unboxings, Skywalker blasts, all stuff like that. Again, just search for Generation Skywalker. Hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate the follow. And of course, you can listen to all the podcasts wherever you may get your podcasts. But it is for me from this show. Goodbye. Thank you to John once again. And we are Generation Skywalker. All eras, all passions, all Star Wars.